In this equation, we have two denominators. So we want to get rid of those two denominators. And before we do that, we're going to state some restrictions. So from the denominator, x cannot equal to 0 or 8. Otherwise, we're going to divide by 0. And again, those restrictions come from the denominator. Oops. Restrictions come from the denominator of x minus 8, x, and those are the restrictions that develop from that. So once we've established the restrictions, I just want to get rid of that divide. So I'm going to get rid of the divide by x by times by x, divide by x minus 8 with a times by x minus 8. When I multiply this out, the x minus 8's cancel out. So I end up with an x times the x minus, when I multiply out the next term, the x's cancel. So I end up with x minus 1, multiplying the x minus 8. And on the right-hand side, nothing cancels, so I end up with 3x, x minus 8. Okay, so then I can expand this out. X squared minus, and I'm going to put this in brackets because everything that we end up with here, I'm just going to highlight this, all this has to be negative. Let's choose a different color maybe. All this has to be negative. Okay, so then I put it in brackets to ensure that whatever I get there is going to end up being the opposite sign. So I end up with x squared minus 9x plus 8. Okay, and all the signs are going to change in there. 3x squared minus 24x. Okay, so there's some things that are going to cancel out here. X squared minus x squared. And then inside the brackets, this negative becomes a positive 9x minus 8. And that's going to be equal to 3x squared minus 24x. Make this equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, so I get negative 33x plus 8. Okay, so this does not look factorable to me, so I'm just going to plug this into the quadratic formula. And so plugging into the quadratic formula, I'm going to get x is equal to 33 plus minus the square root of 33 squared minus 4 times a times c. Okay, so squaring 33, let's do the rest of this here. We're going to have divided by 2a, which is going to be 6. So squaring out that 33, we end up with 33 squared is 1089. So we end up with x is equal to 33 plus minus 1089 minus, that's going to be 96 all over 6. And we can then work that out to be 9, looks like that's going to be 993. Okay, so then we end up with all that over 6. Although there's a common factor of 3, there doesn't seem to be a divisor of 9. Just double check that. So 993 divided by 3. Okay, so it doesn't divide by 9. So we can just, that is a simplified form of that radical expression. So there's our final answer, and we can convert that to decimal as well. We're also going to check this. So the decimal value, I think I have down here, is going to be 10.75 and 0.25. And we're going to check this by looking at the graph of this as well. So looking at the graph, it's always a good idea to graph these things. It just gives us more familiarity with graphs, and the more graphs that we see, the more familiar we are with the different types of graphs that we can get.